Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're totally dismantling that cultural myth of the flawless, super rational business hero. Instead, we're going to look at the actual, and honestly, sometimes really messy, psychology behind success and failure. So, society absolutely loves to romanticize founders, right? We have this intoxicating image of the entrepreneur as a swashbuckling modern-day pirate, just out there on the open seas of the free market, living for the adrenaline and the thrill of the catch.
But that raises a pretty profound question. Are these founders taking massive leaps of faith because the math actually makes sense? Or is it because their brains are just fundamentally wired differently? Are we talking rational economics here, or deep psychological wiring?
Here's the roadmap for how we're going to unpack the founder's mind today. We'll start by moving beyond the hero myth, look at misfits and rule breakers, explore how they navigate total uncertainty, expose the dark side, and finally weigh the true price of passion. Section 1. Beyond the hero myth. Shattering the illusion of the rational calculator. Let's start with a concept called locus of control. Having an internal locus of control is basically the absolute prerequisite for taking any entrepreneurial action. Think about it. If you believe that market forces or just random fate, an external locus of control, dictated your life, you would literally never start a business. You have to believe, deep down, that your own hustle determines your survival.
And this connects perfectly to actualization theory. Think of an opportunity like a seed in the ground. It's objectively there as pure potential, but it remains completely worthless unless a founder comes along with the drive and skill to actually cultivate it. Opportunities aren't just loose change lying on the sidewalk waiting to be grabbed. You have to grow them.
Section 2. Misfits and rule breakers. The superpowers born from unconventional traits. You know how standard business advice always tells us to fit in and listen to feedback? Well, the data tells a completely different story. Research shows that childhood adversity, like navigating early family struggles or even surviving massive historical crises, actually acts as a mixed blessing. It forces early resilience and independence. Then you have disagreeableness theory. Sometimes, true innovation means actively ignoring social norms. Look at Ingvar Kamprad. He outsourced IKEA's production to Poland right in the middle of the Cold War. People hated the idea, but his profound disagreeableness is exactly what saved the company. Which brings us to a seriously staggering statistic. Nearly half, 49% of entrepreneurs report managing one or more lifetime mental health conditions. That is wild, right? It proves they are neurologically distinct from the general population. The exact traits that might make traditional corporate jobs agonizing for them are the very same traits firing up the startup engine.
A great example of this distinct wiring is impulsivity theory. Things like ADHD can actually act as an incredible engine here. It allows founders to bypass analysis paralysis and take huge leaps of faith. Take David Neeleman at JetBlue making massive intuitive asset commitments in a flash, or Richard Branson thriving in completely unstructured chaos at Virgin. While legacy competitors are stuck in endless committee meetings overthinking everything, these founders use rapid, impulsive action as a weapon to just blow past the noise.
Section 3. Navigating total uncertainty. Making moves when the odds are completely unknown. Operating in this space requires something called ambiguity tolerance. It's basically the psychological armor you need to handle conflicting information and make high-stakes decisions without freezing up. See, founders aren't just taking calculated casino risks where you know the odds. They are bearing nighttine and uncertainty, which means operating productively in a totally opaque landscape where literally no one knows the odds. We see this play out vividly in the real world. You've got Katrina Lake at Stitch Fix pitching a totally unproven algorithm-based model to highly skeptical VCs. You have Gwynne Shotwell at SpaceX using effectuation logic to push forward while rocket prototypes are literally exploding on the launch pad. Or the Collison brothers launching Stripe right into a giant, messy swamp of shifting banking regulations. They all anchored their companies by making proactive bets amid total operational chaos. To survive that chaos, you have to master a psychological toggling act known as regulatory focus theory. On one side, you have your promotion focus. This is you acting like a rocket, chasing gains and inventing the future. On the other side is your prevention focus, your shield to protect the downside. You absolutely need that rocket fuel to generate wild ideas, but you have to toggle over to that prevention shield to make sure you don't bankrupt the company in the process. This balancing act ties right into prospect theory, which says your risk tolerance shifts entirely based on whether you're framing things as a gain or a loss. A struggling founder in a loss frame might take outsized, totally reckless risks just gambling to break even. But a successful founder, they can become hyper-risk averse to protect what they've built. That's exactly what happened with Blockbuster. They were so stuck in a comfortable gain frame that paralysis set in, and they refused to buy Netflix. It's all about how your brain frames the stakes.
Section 4. The dark side. Exposing the dangerous traits that destroy value.
There is a really intense paradox when it comes to dark triad traits like Machiavellianism and narcissism. In the short term, these traits might actually get a venture funded. They bring extreme charisma, supreme self-confidence, and rapid strategic dominance. But the long-term cost is staggering. That same grandiosity almost always leads to corporate rot. We're talking toxic cultures, massive legal heat, fraud, isolated decision-making, and eventually catastrophic collapse.
So how do you survive that dark side? The answer is procedural justice. It turns out people will actually accept negative outcomes like lower payouts or poor investor returns as long as the process used to get there was fair and transparent. If you're leading a team, proving that you maintain trust through a fair process is your absolute best shield against the toxic fallout of those darker leadership tendencies.
Section 5. The price of passion. The emotional toll of the founder's wiring.
Passion gets so glorified in the business world, doesn't it? But it's a double-edged sword. You can have harmonious passion, where the venture is perfectly balanced with your other life identities, giving you room to recover and stay flexible. Or it can curdle into obsessive passion. That's when the venture literally becomes a behavioral addiction, leading to rigid persistence, awful withdrawal symptoms, and severe crushing burnout.
To avoid that burnout, founders really need to grasp job demands resources theory. Startup life throws extreme demands at you, crushing financial uncertainty, long hours, the falling rocks of daily crises. Left unchecked, that leads straight to severe health impairment. To survive, you absolutely have to secure your crucial resources: autonomy, solid social support, and positive feedback. These resources act like an umbrella, buffering the stress and keeping you in the game.
All of this leads us to the ultimate well-being paradox of the entrepreneur. The massive global data is clear. Starting a business will give your life profound meaning, massive autonomy, and incredible psychological highs. But it absolutely will not magically cure your stress or your sadness. You don't actually get less anxious. You just get a lot more vital. You're essentially turning the volume up to 11 on both ends of the human emotional spectrum.
So, I'll leave you with one final question to ponder today. Do you have the psychological capacity to endure that intense founder's high without letting the stress of the voyage sink your ship? Take a really hard look at your own mental wiring and ask yourself if you're truly ready for the reality of the pirate's life. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.